What is up, gamers?
What's up, Sneeples?
We're back again this week, like we are every week,
Every week.
with another podcast type of deal here. I don't even know. Is this even a podcast? Can we even call it that?
It is I think officially it is. It's just like us recording a conversation, really.
I guess we'd have to name it for it to be considered a podcast, right?
It's the
Without
Every
a
Week
name,
Fab podcast.
It is. We could change it to the most consistent Fab podcast, or maybe like the longest running Fab podcast, because we've been doing this
I
for
like
just
that.
so long now, and it's every week.
Yeah, I mean, truly. I think we're the ones that got Rudy into the game because he listened to our podcast. So
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
yeah.
I think so. All jokes aside, we do have a lot to talk about, so we probably should jump into it here.
Mhm.
I guess let's just start with the elephant in the room, the ban is suspended announcements.
All right, good. Yeah, let's do that.
Pretty much everything that happened, everyone thought was what was going to happen. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And you
the
know
things
what?
that we didn't want to happen.
We talked last week about how we didn't want all of the things that happened to happen, and then they all happened. And you know what? I read it and I was like, wow, really? I think
Me too.
that it was just like enough like community sentiment kind of thing, enough community outrage that they're like, let's just ban it. But I've heard all the arguments and I actually kind of am coming around to it.
Which
CYB
one?
ban.
The CYB. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, okay, I want to mention something real quick on what you're saying. Because if you read their reasoning for banning high octane, it reads totally different than their reasoning for banning CYB.
All right, I'm gonna pull it up as you're talking here. Go ahead. I didn't read it. Admittedly.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me go through it real quick. So with high octane, they're like, hey, look, we did talk about this before, how we were looking at getting banned. It still is in the it's still okay as we see it. It's just because the gun isn't a once per turn effect. That's really why we're gonna take this away. That's basically what they said for high octane. And it's like, yeah, okay, we've seen this type of bannings before where they take a key piece away from the deck and they're like, well, you can still play it. It'll still be all right. We've seen that before with like Fi and stuff like that. So that's normal. And that's kind of like what to be expected with a BNR announcement. But then when they were talking about CYB, they have like 2 paragraphs where they're like a little love story about CYB. They're like, this is exactly what we want it to be. And it embodies what and this is James White is the author for this one. So, he says it embodies, what he wants out of Flesh and Blood for control matches. And that it is simply okay. And then his reasoning why we have to get it banned is because we just don't have enough pieces to be against it right now. And it just reads totally fucking different. It's like, what is that? That's like, we could say that for so many different cards. And I don't know. What's your take on it all?
I still stand by everything I said before. I think it's fun and interesting to play against, and it's very fun to play against, being able to be the one to play out your whole deck in any order that you want, uninterrupted, and be able to formulate these big combos, I think is the most fun Flesh and Blood can be. And I think when people can't do that, they're not as good at doing that. It is frustrating to lose to that, right? So yeah, I stand by all of that. I think it's fun to play against. I think it's a fun card. But I will say it does kind of ruin the spectator perspective of it, particularly when you get to a top cut. I will concede to that fact, and that is kind of a big deal, I think, especially for a game that's in such a growing stage like Flesh and Blood is.
Sure. I liked it. I mean, but that's me, as a fatigued player. But I do like seeing them. Like, to me, it is really.
I like playing against it, but I can't say I enjoyed watching the top 2 Worlds game. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy that?
I did. I because like I felt like I was in it. I was like, all right. Surely he knows that that's a poison the well in the arsenal. It's like I was like going through like, what is he thinking right now? Because he was sitting on the counter blessing for so long. I was like, all right, So I don't know. I actually did enjoy it, but that's probably because I play it, right? So it's like I get it from that perspective.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess there's some more nuance for a more entrenched player like you, as opposed to someone just watching the game for the first time, debating whether or not they're
Right.
going to pick it up. So yeah, from like a spectator perspective, I guess I do get it, and I am overall happy that they banned it because now I don't have to listen to people complain about it
I guess
anymore.
that is a good point. That is a
I
good
think the
point.
good players are still gonna win. They're still gonna fatigue you, and CYB being gone isn't gonna change that.
I think especially with Euro coming out, which we'll obviously be getting to later, but yeah, I do think that a fatigue deck is still going to be around, or a control style deck. They did mention that they do plan to bring Counter Blessings back.
Oh, did they say that?
They
As
did.
more tools get it released to combat it or something?
Right. So
Okay.
honestly, that's another reason why, like, I've read so many BNR announcements from LSS, and this one just stuck out as so different. It really does feel that this one was more community driven than like testing driven, because like the fact that they come out saying like, hey, we made this card and it performed exactly how we want it to perform, and it's exactly it's the type of style that we like to see, but we're going to go ahead and ban it. It's like that just felt so weird. And then them saying we still plan to bring this back, it feels like they're just throwing a bone to like the community, which I don't know if that is representative of the community at large, or if that's just representative of the community that speaks the loudest.
I think it is representative of the community at large. If you go to like the highest caliber of players are kind of split on the issue, but the lower caliber of players are like very adamantly against CYB, like violently almost.
It's just that, so it's like here's where the problem like happens now, is because they said they plan to bring it back. They said it was exactly what they did, exactly what they intended for it to do, and so much so that the December Armory promos are full art CYBs.
No, they're not. Stop.
Yeah, they are. They 100%
Actually,
are.
though?
Yes, and that's why they're like, they literally said, hey, don't worry, we're planning to bring this back, so still get your December Armory promos, and you can also play it in LL. That's what they said. So it just feels like they have a different idea of CYB versus the community. And so it's like, I trust LSS more when it comes to game design right now than I do anyone else, just because like one's been doing it and one just goes on vibes. And so so I'm skeptical. I'll admit, like, I'm skeptical that this was the right play. I understand how newer players and how some players are going to want it more. Like, I'll be 100% honest. Part of me is kind of happy that CYB is banned, only because I'm going to Portland, and just really because I felt that I was basically locked in to play Enigma, CYB Enigma, and I didn't necessarily really want to be honest. I wanted to play something else. Now I can. So I get it. Like, I don't necessarily want to play CYB. It's just, yeah, I feel like this was more community driven, and I don't particularly like that. But
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like they do pride themselves in being the only card game company who actually listens to their community and just ignoring all of the CYB calls, like calls for CYB to be banned. I would kind of go against that.
It would, but I just don't want to listen to them for every decision, right? Because I think we have a totally different card game.
They're not the game designers here, right? Maybe they don't know, maybe the players don't know what's good for them. Like, it's just frostbites all over again, right? Like, the community hated Icelander, and that was, I think, one of the best TCG player experiences I've ever had in any game. It was just such a beautiful deck.
Definitely. I mean, to me, CYB was the coolest thing just because it had, like, honestly, if Enigma CYB didn't exist, or even new in a smaller extent, I think there'd be so many wacky, fun CYB decks out there. I think it's just because there was a hella competitive one that it really like put a stain on it. But it's fine.
It is what it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
High Octane also gone again. Everyone kind of saw this one coming.
That one was more predictable for sure.
Yeah, I am not gonna say I hate it because I do think it did create some unfun play experiences, some feels bads where like there's nothing you could do. But I do question like, is Dio playable now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't particularly think so. I think she goes back to where she was, to be honest.
Yeah. Even that, does she even get to that level?
I mean,
I don't
surely she didn't get
know.
worse. Well, maybe I guess. Well, she kind of did, but
She
like I
gained
don't know.
cerebellum and lost High Octane. Ugh. She
That's
might
true.
be worse.
That's
She
true.
might be
Actually,
worse.
you might be right. You might be right. Yeah. So let me go ahead and say something weird that they posted on the description for High Octane, why they're getting rid of it, or they at least addressed. They're like, hey, the main reason why is because the weapon doesn't have, or it doesn't say once per turn. And
Right.
they're like, we want that to still be the case for mechs because we want that to be a mech thing. We just don't feel like High Octane can be a part of that. And then I'm just wondering, it's like, so I guess induction chamber is the only way to like start being able to do this like multiple turns. Because like surely if you're shooting your symbiote pistol or symbiosis shot for like 2, like that's probably not a great turn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could literally find a way to shoot it twice, but it does feel like it's going to be pretty hard to shoot it twice in a turn, which is like, then it's like, okay, well, am I just not playing that card anymore? Am I just playing the regular pistol? Then it's like, I don't know. She loses a lot of her identity.
I guess you play it, but then you don't even like worry about like, it's just a free 2 damage. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about stacking counters or anything because it ain't going to do anything.
Yeah, that's what it honestly feels like. Yeah, I think it hurts her a lot. I think she was in the A tier, and I think now, I would be impressed to see one in the top 8, honestly.
Same. I think it's going to have to be some system reset, like real degeneracy.
Yeah, right.
Like some high roll shenanigans that you're going to have to lean into with that deck to make it competitive now, I imagine.
I'm curious on the consistency of that, though.
Yeah, same. Definitely same. But if enough of them enter,
yeah,
one will surely top.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They got some. Is there anything else you want to say on that?
No, I'm good. We
got
some Blitz changes too.
Yeah, we got some Blitz changes. Yeah, honestly, I did kind of like this BNR because it went through 4 different formats. Like 4 different formats got changed, which that's kind of cool. That's never happened before.
I appreciate that. It shows that they're at least looking at everything.
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest one for Blitz is like they've already mentioned that Zen's going to be back in to be legal, which that makes sense. Like that was ridiculous how one season.
Yeah, sure.
But Belittle getting banned, that already kind of felt like it was. So I don't even know. Like that was interesting. Belittle wasn't banned, but it kind of felt that way. But Hadron Collider being banned, and they were really talking about how Dash.io has been killing people turn 3 consistently.
Not dat at all.
Sorry, dat at all. Yeah. So that's interesting. I haven't looked at that at all, but yeah, kind of, for a new like cerebellum processor, that's kind of fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pay me to play Blitz. I guess you could pay me to play it, but I'm not going to go to an armory for it or anything. I'll go to like, if you're making me do a skirmish with it, that's like the least amount to make me play Blitz. It's like just such a frustrating format. And when I read that they banned Hadron Collider, I was like, oh yeah, that deck probably is like, because I've heard stuff about it, like that it's just like a war crime how good this deck is. It's just like S tier. It's just the best deck ever. And I'm just like, every time someone tells me something like this, I'm like, I'm just so glad I don't participate in this format. So I don't care about these bans at all. I like them.
I like the format, but that's fair. I totally get it. A lot of people have that same thing. Okay, Living Legend. This one's interesting. Just because open the floodgates restricted. Okay, makes sense. That was pretty busted what Kano can do. Starstruck being unrestricted makes me want to play Starvo. That seems a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think that's really about it. I don't think there's too much on that. I mean, that all makes sense.
I guess it helps Starvo a little bit, but not really that much.
I think that's why they're okay with it, right? Like,
yeah, right, yeah. It should have probably never been limited for as long as it has been. But the other decks that are like good in LL are like Kano, Fatigue Oldham, like stuff that doesn't get hurt by Starstruck,
right?
Or decks you're probably already really good into, like Chain. Like you don't need that second and third Starstruck. It'll help, don't get me wrong, but
right,
it's definitely not necessary.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah, and that's why I did. I mean, honestly, I think it was because the first Battle Hardened that was LL was 8 Starvos, so they had to like go overdrive on the bannings.
I don't blame them for that, honestly.
Yeah, so
you gotta
now,
address that.
yeah, exactly. So now it's coming back little by little, and soon you'll be able to play your Starvo deck, and it won't even be that busted.
Soon we'll get our 3 Oakenholds back, surely.
I'd be pretty happy about that. That's the one where you know that Starvo is like in a good spot if that one comes back.
Yeah, I guess so. I gotta start cooking in LL. It looks like a lot of fun, but I haven't.
That's my favorite format right now. It's like Blitz and CC together, and it's actually fun. It is. It really is. Yeah, Commoner. Yeah. No more Chain. I don't know. I have no idea. I have not played Commoner. I am going to go to Portland, but I am happy to hear this because it's like, oh, cool. Didn't hit Icelander. In fact, hit one of Icelander's like maybe bad matchups. I really don't know. It's cool. I'm still going to be playing Icelander.
Yeah, I'm sure not that many people understand what's going on in that format. So, well, this will be the biggest tournament ever for it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the first sanctioned one. So
right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, I can't pretend to know anything about that format at all.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Now that we've done it, now that we've talked about all the bannings, let's go back to CC because I want to know, like, surely it's Aurora as the BDIF at this point.
Always has been. No, I'm just
bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, there was a lot of talk like, oh, well, the guy who won Worlds, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now. He figured out the Aurora matchup. He's got this new innovative deck that's good into Aurora. And it's like, what was innovative? CYB. I thought everyone had been playing CYB this whole time, but I guess it was just you. I don't know. You've been playing it since like literally day one. I thought that was just normal. Every time I play against any Enigma, this whole format, since Rosetta's dropped, I put a Poison the Well in every time I play against it because I just always assume they're on CYB.
Right.
And to be fair, I actually haven't run into one beside you that was on CYB.
CYB was always the underrepresented, I guess. I think when we did our pro quests, I was the only CYB in like Utah. You know what I mean? And that was
in all the pro quests combined, right? You were the only CYB. I don't think anyone.
Yeah, in all the pro quests combined. So it's like, as big as CYB was in like the Twitter sphere, like it was very like small representation, like in armories and PQs.
I think there was other CYB decks, but you were the only Enigma, right? Yeah, the only CYB Enigma.
I guess there was a CYB Olympia who was like already knew about this banning because he wasn't running all 9. So maybe he
surely,
knew.
Right. Yeah, surely he was just prepping for the new format.
Prepping for this. Yeah. Anyways. So I think it was always kind of, I think it only looked very big within the Twistosphere and then finally at Worlds when it finally had a big breakthrough. Like 2 of the top 8 being CYB is pretty big numbers for how little represented it was.
Sure. Yeah. Well, anyway, the reason I mentioned that is because, yeah, the Aurora versus Enigma matchup when they're not on CYB is just a wash. It's really hard to lose that matchup.
Yeah, that's why I chose CYB. I was like, oh, I actually can win now. if I don't have CYB, I feel like it's like Zen matchup again. It's just bad. It's just bad.
But so yeah, if CYB's gone, yeah, Aurora probably BDIF, I imagine.
Right. Like I don't think New. I think New loses some points too. Right, because I think CYB New was pretty real, to be honest. I actually was kind of fucking with that deck. It's like, go figure, Michael Hamilton running it, right?
Right.
But like, yeah, I don't think New's in a good spot anymore. Like, Aurora is not a bad or like New is not a bad matchup for Aurora.
If they're not on I can't say I've ever played against a CYB New.
Right.
So it could be very similar to the Enigma, where if they're on CYB Enigma, it's way worse than a regular Enigma. But I played against a ton of regular New, and I don't think I've lost to it as Aurora. So
I just don't think them taking a card away from you hurts you as much as it like would with Zen, right? Like Zen needs a blue. So like you take your blue away and it's like, well, fuck, but with Aurora, it's like, oh, I'll take the snatch away and then you'll just come at me for 4 and 4 and sword and embodiment. Yeah.
Yeah, she plays really efficiently with a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 card hand. So it's like nothing you could do really puts her under rate in any way. She's happy to play any number of cards. So
yeah, so what's her boogeyman? I mean, like, surely a deck comes along like the CYB Enigma that can just put her in her place.
We're waiting for Jarl, I guess.
I suppose so, but we have Portland. We have a calling before then.
Until then, Zen is really, really tough for her.
Really?
Yeah, Zen is. I don't know. I can't like conceptualize what makes it so difficult. But I've never beat a Zen.
Is it just like not winning the race sort of deal?
I guess it's partially that. It's partially wax on, wax off. It's partially
that is a good one.
Their chess piece negating one of everything is very annoying. Like on a like a flicker turn, like a arc lightning turn, not flicker. Yep. Sorry, you don't even play flicker in the matchup.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. So it's like. Yeah, it's just kind of annoying because of that. The needles are also very annoying because you never want to block them and you never. Oh, like so there's some annoyances for sure.
Let's look up Aurora. What decks beat Aurora? So it looks like she struggles on the Bravo. She ain't playing Bravo.
Well, that's CYB Bravo, right? So
that's probably a CYB Bravo. That's a good point.
Yeah, if you're looking at Talar stats, that's not going to be
a
good representation.
I guess Dash IE has bad matchups accordingly.
Bad matchup, like Aurora's bad into it.
Or Aurora has a bad matchup into it, yeah.
I could see that because probably anyone playing Dash IE is playing like the fatigue Dash IE.
Right.
So like a lot of reacts.
Right, yeah. They just fatigue her out, basically. I guess been set. And hey, you have experience in that one.
I did lose that.
Yeah.
And it is. Talishar does say it's tough, though. Aggregate stats, so. I'm not super experienced in it, so I can't speak to it. But at the one time I played it, I lost
it. So holds up. Yeah, it doesn't look like much. I mean, like even Florian, like that's not good enough. Like that's actually terrible. Like 60% win rate. Now this is obviously Talishar, right? But when you play enough of it, right? This is 46,000 games. Some of this is going to ring true. You know what I mean? Like So. It's looking like she's pretty close to be the BDIF, if not. Although if we are according to these stats, it's the undenied winner is Viscerai. This is so fucking jank. What the fuck is this? 74% win rate?
Oh my god!
I've never seen it that high, and I used to do the monthly Talishar. Like I should bring that back because I wish I saw it for this. This is stupid. This would be like. Everything needs to get banned if it was this good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of games played this month already. There's like 48,000. That's not a bad sample size.
I'm gonna look at last month, see where it is. That's
63% last month. Oh wait, no, 59% last month. Sorry.
I mean, honestly, anytime anything above 55 is just like undeniably BDIF. That's actually gnarly.
He does have a bad Aurora matchup allegedly. And he does have a bad Zen matchup, so.
Oh, see, there it is. Yeah. Damn it. Damn it. You can't beat the most popular deck, then what are you doing? I guess you got to beat every other deck.
He's a good gatekeeper, I guess. Yeah, we need a certain pole arm to come out and save the format from the aggro overlords.
Yeah, is this our transition?
Yeah, I know you got some opinions on the pole arm. Go ahead, get it off your chest.
I do. Okay, so I got my Oldham shirt today because, I love my boy. Let me go ahead and say that, I had a friend, Austin, who said the new weapon's going to be like a 6-cost Winter's Well. And he was obviously joking, and then he wasn't. And it was like, what the fuck? Like, the initial impression is like, was Winter's Well that fucking busted? Like, I feel like it could have been Winter's Well, but with the ability, of Jarl's ability. Like, if they have an exposed zone, they get a frostbite. And it wouldn't have been that bad. But I get it. Even then, that's a little bit pushed. Fine. We don't need to give him that, right? This weapon sucks. This weapon is not
is good. So good, bro. What do you mean?
This weapon sucks, bro. Like, this weapon sucks when you look at it to every other weapon in the game.
How?
Every other weapon has better stat lines. Every other weapon has just more playability with less. Like, this is the most demanding weapon for the most average stat line.
Okay, it's like a high-costed weapon, sure, but it also is the only weapon that has a meaningful on-hit. Because that's what it is. Summit, this new polearm is a 2-card 6 with a meaningful on-hit.
Surge and Aethertide has a meaningful on-hit.
Okay, Summit is a 2-card 6 with a meaningful on-hit.
We're reaching if it was a 2-card 7, that'd be nicer. No, yeah, but it's reaching CNC number, except it's a fucking knot at the same time.
Except it doesn't take a card out of your deck. You're right.
Here's the fucking thing. This is the biggest fucking problem with this card, is that you can't even play it for half the fucking game, which that sucks. But then maybe the argument's well, you wouldn't even want to just Coronet peek them and then wait till your shield's used up.
Yep.
The problem with that is when are you going to use your shield up? Ideally you want that frostbite to be like a scowling flesh bag where it just turns their whole turn off. So you're waiting with that stalagmite, right? Like if I'm going against KO, I'm not going to use it whenever I can fully block a fucking swing big. No, I'm going to wait for a Blood Rush Bellow type turn, right? And so I am as far as me being able to use my weapon, I am connected to that shield and when I'm going to be using that shield twice. And that might not be for a long time, especially if my opponent knows that, right? If my opponent sees that I'm holding onto the shield to get the most value off of that, they might be fine with that because that means I don't get a weapon against them. And they might just, be pitch stacking against me. I just think that weapon puts you in a vulnerable spot.
I think it is matchup dependent, right? Because against aggro, that's what you're talking about, is when you want to be really holding your shield. Against aggro, the +2 from not having a shield also doesn't really matter. You're happy if they block it. You want them to block it.
I don't think they will, though, is the fucking problem.
So they're going to take 4 and get a frostbite?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, totally. So how is that different than them taking 6 and getting a frostbite?
Because 4 should cost you less. The problem is that you had to keep 2 cards in hand to be able to do it, which means you're probably taking damage. And
against aggro, you shouldn't do that, though. You shouldn't do that, right?
Exactly.
And then sometimes aggro takes a setup turn, like you played a lot of Victor, you played a lot of Oldham and shit, so you probably have experienced this as well. Sometimes they take a setup turn, and then your hand doesn't do anything. Actually no disruption. You might throw a Thunderquake, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this at least guarantees you have some kind of disruption on tap, always available.
Kinda.
As long as they have a
right.
slot. But yeah.
Yeah, so kinda. If it was just Frostbite on hit, you know what? I probably like this weapon at that point. But the fact that it has a condition as well is another thing that makes me upset. I see that point, and that's fair. But like you can also put anything in that good situation, and anything's going to be good. Like a CNC and Arsenal would be good in that situation.
Well, yeah, but something that starts in play and stays in play the whole game. There's nothing as good.
Zip. Yeah. No, I mean look. Yeah, that's a good situation, but those are few and far betweens is the problem. How about this? If you put a good situation out, I'm going to put a bad situation out.
Please do.
Let's say your opponent goes. I don't know. Let's just say you're facing Enigma. They go, Waxing Spectre, come at you with it, or yeah, that's the one, the +1, and then they come at you with a fucking another little spectral shield aura, right? And then they end the turn with a shimmer. And the problem is that you actually blocked with 3 cards, and now you can't even destroy that shimmer.
Well, I would pitch into my Titan's Fist and swing at the shimmer because it's in the sideboard just for that matchup.
All right, so I agree with that 100%. You should be having Titan's Fist for that matchup. Totally agree with that.
Or Anathos, probably Anathos, to be honest. But yeah,
either or, yeah, because it's the Sidemind's not going to do as much in that matchup. But yeah, exactly. You should have a hammer that can come in, take out something with just 1 card. Totally agree with that. That's another part where it just loses some points, is that you have to have a sideboard hammers when you run that polearm. I would argue that you have to have a sideboard sledge, because in the mirror, sledge is going to be so much better with a tunic to help you set up big turns in the mirror versus just polearming, because that frostbite isn't, even if you give it to them, that frostbite isn't going to do jack shit to a sledge. If they're running a polearm, then okay, but
what about when you're Jarl and your whole gimmick is destroying equipment and you get your tunic destroyed? And then now you have a sledge that costs 4, and I have which is 2 cards after your tunic is gone. I have a summit that costs 2 cards, except mine swings for 6 and gives a frostbite.
Yeah, I'll happily explain that. Yeah, mine's I can swing every fucking time, no matter how many frostbites you give me, because mine's cost 4 and I can pitch 2 blues.
2 cards. Yeah, sure.
So that situation, sure, if you get me on that, okay, you get me on that. Mine, I can pummel. You can't pummel yours.
This is true. True. You could pummel it. I don't know if you even play pummel. Surely you play pummel, right?
Yeah, pummel's just way too good not to play, honestly.
Yeah, it's just so good.
I think that's also another reason why you typically are going to still be playing Tunic. Like, you are playing less for attacks, but I think CNC pummel is way too good, and Frostfang pummel I think is way too good too.
You couldn't pay me to get off pummel. That card is so good.
100% on that.
I meant Tunic, sorry.
Oh,
you couldn't pay me to get off Tunic, yeah.
Either
if you're on Tunic, then you're on pummel. CNC pummel too good.
100%. And then, yeah.
Especially if like you're literally forced to play Mangle, like the new gloves, like that's too good. You have to play Mangle.
Yeah.
And it costs 4, so it's like, yeah, you're gonna have these 4 cost cards in your deck: Tunic, Pitch a Blue, Mangle. It seems like very obvious, right?
Yeah, it seems easy, and I get it with the gloves, like that costs 2 extra, so you do want to have the two blues to do it with it, but this is just an option where you don't have to, which is nice, because blocking feels pretty good when you're a Guardian, and probably should be doing it more than attacking, or at least half as much. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what's interesting about those gloves too is that they don't like destroy themselves, or they're not like
that's
limited
cool
in any kind of way. So I wonder if he like starts citing Remembrance and just recycles all the Mangles and just comes at him with the gloves and Mangle as much as possible throughout the game.
Recycling Mangles. That's interesting. I mean, I see what you're going with, and you're cooking. I don't even think you're off, honestly. That's kind of cool.
Closer. It is a closer.
100%.
Yeah, so in the mirrors and whatnot, it could be the play, honestly, because that's going to go the distance where you're going to need those remembrances and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing that's kind of cool with the other piece of equipment, now we just said we're always running Tunic, and I still agree with this, but if you're a budget guy, the chest piece and Well Grounded, if you're going a more earthy build, Well Grounded blocks for 0. You can block that with the chest piece, get a Seismic Surge every time for free, basically.
Easy.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That's fucking cool.
That is pretty sick. I like that a lot. I don't think it's good enough to like make it over Tunic, but the fact that
No,
they put
it's a
that
budget.
good of a chess piece in there for the budgets, I like it a lot.
Me too. Me too.
You almost called it with the ice cap last time. Defense, give him a
Right.
frostbite. Yeah, you were close. You
That
thought
was
it'd
a
be the
little close.
gloves. You were close.
And I'm gonna make an argument here. If you're not fully now, I should also say this real quick. I do have Jarl list that I'm running the polearm, so I'm not like so anti against the polearm. I just refuse to play it. But if you're not running a list that runs the polearm, that card could be a Scowling Fleshbag, that Olin's headpiece.
It could
like
potentially
a well-timed
be,
frostbite could work.
It could, but let me ask you: if you're not playing the polearm, are you just playing like Titan's Fist against aggro? You're just like swinging 4?
Yeah, it worked before. Like Oldham did it, and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, he had no other option. He wouldn't hold the card to swing 4. He would rather block with it, but if he got stuck with a card, he would swing 4.
He was. That's just what you do. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's well, for whatever reason, Titan's Fist is just always going to be the best hammer for Guardians. Except maybe Anatos, but mostly Titan's Fist. It gets more.
But I don't even. Another thing against Titan's Fist is you got a lot of not 3 cost blue cards.
If you are running a list that is more Titan's Fist, you can get away with having more like Guardian blues in there. So like Cranial Crushes and Macho Grandes.
You'd have
blue Glacial Footstraps. Autumn's Touch still work. There is quite a bit. I think you'll just lose out on Channel Lake Frigid, Crumble. But even that Frozen to Death card that came out, which is a great card, I was happy about that. That's a 3 thing. So like I actually think there is a decent amount. It just depends on the type of build you play. But I think probably a more competitive build tends to be the more boring builds, which tends to be just good Guardian blue cards. And those tend to be 3 costs and above. So I think honestly Titan's Fist will have no problem coming in for 4 for like 80 to 90% of the game.
Yeah, if you're playing the Thunderquakes and Machos and stuff, definitely. And that deck is probably better in the mirror anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't want to be playing your Channel Mount Eisen and whatnot against a mirror match.
No.
That Frozen to Death card kind of disappointed me, actually. Because until this, there was no way... they couldn't just like uninteractable destroy your equipment. That wasn't a thing prior to this. You always... It was just mangle and buckle. So you could always
exposed to the elements would have been the one where because it's an instant. Because it's an instant, you can catch them, and that was kind of the idea. That's actually how you beat Kano. If they like just went pitch a blue Aether Spindle, and then you just blow up the boots, like you probably win that game.
You could play around it though, right? You can wait till you get an E-Pod to do that. You can because it's a double fuse, right? So you can wait. Like if you don't take 2 or 3 cards from them, then you don't.
It's an optional fuse. Yeah, if you fuse the ice, you don't have to fuse both. You can just choose one or the other.
Right. So if your thing already has a -1 counter, then
or if it already has a 0 block, then you can just do the ice one. Because that's what the ice side does. Is if it has a 0 block, you blow it up.
Okay, I thought it needed a -1 to blow it up, but
that was actually the easiest way. So I think I kind of get what you're saying, because this is uninteractable Frozen to Death. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can't do it. It just dies.
It just dies. Yeah, I think because Frozen to Death, you just don't even worry about exposed, or you don't even play exposed elements anymore, because that's just
better.
Why would
you?
Yeah,
Frozen to Death is just busted. Like it just your equipment dies. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like 100%. In the Guardian Mirror, your tunic's dead. Yeah, you're gonna get as much value out of it as you can, but it's gone. Like you're not getting that tunic for the whole game.
Definitely,
which is
honestly
annoying.
Yeah, I do think that card is good enough to play on its own. I mean, you also give him a Frostbite potentially. Well, probably more than likely, yeah, you give him even 2 Frostbites, which is pretty good.
It's a nice card. Yeah, you give him 2 Frostbites, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. So I think that card you're totally fine if that's the only thing you do for a turn. I think Crumble is probably not good enough.
Crumble to Eternity?
Yeah, to just like make that the only thing you do. So I like if you bring that out with imposing visage to like go and find it and bring it out. I think that's pretty good. But generally, I think you just pitch that card.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's cool that they have a card that's not an attack that's like worth actually playing out. I like that.
And I don't think it's like overly broken for the rate.
I don't think so
It's
either.
just a little annoying that it takes away your agency as the opponent to like potentially play around any kind of equipment disruption. This is just
that's a fair take, honestly. I didn't think of it like that, and that's pretty fair. I mean, just I wonder if Jarl needed that. Like, I wonder how much like people will just never give you equipment if you're playing Jarl, and this just like forces that to be the case. So maybe because this card exists, maybe you just be like, you know what, you're gonna get my equipment one way or the other. I might as well get the value. It's kind of like when a drill shot comes in. Fuck it, I'll block with the equipment. You're already gonna put a -1 counter on it.
Yeah, because with this card existing, it's almost like, well, I better block with my equipment as quick as I can because it's gonna die either way.
Sure.
Whereas before it was like I could save it as long as possible to the last moment. Now it's like just block with it.
Maybe Tunic's not good. Maybe Tunic's not good in the mirror if that's the case.
Yeah, surely it's good. Like it's
it feels hard to not play Tunic. But
yeah,
I guess maybe time will tell us, you know. We've been wrong about some things. We've been right about a lot of things, though.
Yeah, I just don't know what you would play instead.
I just better blocks, like maybe Barkskin, maybe Tectonic Planing if you're playing Anathos.
Yeah, I guess maybe. And if you another interesting thing too, if you're playing the decomposed version, the gauntlets are an earth card. Which is kind of cool. Yeah,
it is cool. It is very cool in that way. I do like that. I also just want to mention that I think Insidious Chill is slightly better now, which I think probably is the way you beat the mirror is Insidious Chill. And now you have another card that...
True. You have another fuse.
You have another fuse card. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I fuck with that. I wonder if he's going to get another shield.
You know what? I was talking to my buddy old Joel on that. I have a prediction for that.
Okay,
I think
let's hear it.
It's going to be Steelblade Buckler, but it's just going to be an Earth card. So it's like it's slightly better than Steelblade Buckler. I don't think it's going to do anything specifically. I think it's just going to be a shield that's an Earth, probably an Ice as well.
And that just blocks for 1.
It blocks for 2 and then blocks for 1 and then dead.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because they announced, I think we have the whole deck. So it's like kind of almost...
We don't. There's still a few M's that might be around.
Well, they'll probably be reprints though, right?
I think so. But it's hard to say. Like, do you think they reprint Oakenold?
I think they have to.
You think so? Like, it just feels weird with Oldham on it. Like, if they came out with new art with it, that actually would be kind of cool.
Yeah, they'd have
That'd be pretty cool. I'd be about that. Okay.
And I wonder how they're going to do the foils too. Because you know how they always give like 1 foil and then 2 non-foil? Are they just going to give 1 of all the new foils of all the new Majestics, 1 foil of all the new Majestics? I'm kind of curious how they're gonna navigate that.
I would bet that they're going to be cooking a little bit in that department. Like, I bet this is going to be something like Azalea, where a few decks are going to be a little special.
A little spicy.
That was
a hit, honestly. I liked it a lot. I kind of am sad that they didn't do something like that again for Dio.
I'm kind of curious why they chose Azalea, too.
Dude, I almost feel like it was just like a printing error, and they're like, fuck it, ship it.
Send it.
We'll call it an Easter egg, fuck it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because why didn't they do it with Dio?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Dio would have done fine. I guess maybe they felt like Azalea needed that to sell, but I would imagine Bolton would have needed that to sell. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I think Jarl is overall, like, people are excited for Jarl. He does look very cool, so I don't think they need to do anything like that for those to sell, but maybe like the extra price increase, this will be like another little value you're getting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with it. I hope we get another shield of some sort, just to kind of give new players some kind of like play with the new weapon.
Right.
Just to like kind of get them used to making it heavy and whatnot. I think it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I guess time will tell. We'll see.
Sure.
I do think he's going to totally reshape the meta, though.
Yeah, I think so. He'll have an immediate impact. I mean, him just like ice will have an immediate impact.
And just Guardian, those elemental Guardian cards like Oakenold and shit. It's just too good. It's just way too good to
what
allow
does
aggro.
the meta become? Surely Aurora takes a step down. And then
right.
Yeah.
What would beat Jarl though? Like if you knew everyone at locals was playing Jarl day of, what do you bring? I mean Enigma, of course, but Enigma's gonna leave soon. Yeah, Reinhardt totally could.
Reinhardt
that would be annoying.
Has always been a terrible matchup for Guardians. Yeah, Enigma is always gonna be bad. Like Illusionist is well, just Enigma. I think you can fatigue Prism now, so I think it's just Enigma.
I don't think new Prism stands much of a chance against you.
Yeah. I guess she could be built to beat Jarl, but then like you're really warping that deck only to beat one. You know?
Yeah, you play like a lot of ways to flash in instance and stuff.
Right.
I guess you could, like Mage Master Boots and whatnot.
Right.
Even then, I think Jarl could just go face and kill her.
Speaking of Mage Master Boots, one of those Enigmas in top 8 was running Mage Master Boots. And they weren't playing CYB. Do you think that's good enough for Enigma to stay competitive right now?
I am told the boots were just for Enigma mirrors to get the 10k off easier.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And that's the only matchup they ever came in against.
God, we're so tough.
Yeah.
So tough.
We need Jarl, honestly, to
y'all would literally be the triangle. Like, what is the triangle now? Like, surely Enigma is still good. So Enigma won't leave, but she'll probably take a step down.
What's on that other end of the triangle? I guess it would have to be Florian now, because New.
I think you're more likely on the Florian guess now, because like I knew was the one before, which I was a little surprised with, but then like looking at that deck, it actually did make sense. Like that deck was really good. But it was the CYB. I don't think New is very good right now, unfortunately.
Without CYB, I don't get the deck. Like I genuinely just don't understand it.
It's just not in like New was good because Zen was good. I'm gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
Surely Florian. Is there any other deck that could just block out? I guess
it'd be like the Florian that I played against at Utah that had like 12 4 blocks or 15 4 blocks,
just
something like
that. Central, yeah.
And then all the disruption.
Yeah, I mean, it'll get the job done.
It has to be that deck. That's the only thing that could really consistently beat aggro, I think.
I do think it's cool. I like Florian as a design. Just, it's one of those that gets stronger as the game goes on. So that's cool. Yeah, Zelia doesn't do it. I'm trying to think of just anything that can maybe Ira. Okay, speaking of Ira. So one top 8 in calling, and we just had a battle hardened Hiroshima. One more top 8'd.
I think it's a deck. I think it's a real deck. Like it is actually insane against aggro. And if we're in an aggro format, then Ira to me makes a lot of sense. I think that is honestly better than Florian. Now that you mention it, that takes that spot because it's just better.
Kadachi's are real. I mean, Kadachi lock is an actual fear. Like no one wants to ever be in a Kadachi lock. And she'll get you there. She will get you there.
I can't say I've ever played against it as Aurora, but doesn't it seem conceptually just impossible? Like they have like the disruption and the fucking all the D reacts. They always play a
Flick
ton of
Flack is a hell of a card against
Flick
Aurora.
Flick Flack sounds so annoying. Kadachi CNC, Kadachi Erase Phase, Kadachi Weakest Link. It just all sounds so annoying. They can still
play the needle, and they can play better.
And you could never blow up their needle because you don't play sync. And they'll always
pay for the
one. Blue,
Kadachi
needle, and they have the floating, so you could never blow it up with the Sigil of Suffering.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, that deck,
maybe I cook with Ira a little bit. Maybe I bring her to Portland.
That deck probably runs it over. Completely just runs it over. I don't know how it would do against like a Viserai though, because Viserai could set up against it.
Viserai is good into mid range. And Viserai is kind of like in that Enigma spot.
Yeah, if you're a Viserai and you sit down and you see an Ira, you could just be like, okay, I'll take off turns and set up a bunch of rune chants frequently.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. That's the one weakness of Ira is like she doesn't want a 4-card hand. She wants a 2-card hand, maybe a 3-card, but she does not want a 4-card hand. She just won't be able to play it the most efficiently most of the time.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You need go again cards that are also 3 blocks, and there's not a lot of those.
Not a lot of those.
There's like give and take, and there's not a lot of them.
Yeah. So if I go Malefic Incantation, become the Arc Knight, grab a Read Runes, pass, that's probably a more beneficial on my end than it will be on the Ira end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens at Portland, and we'll call it there.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, thanks for watching this week and every week, as always, just like we do every other week. Later, gamers.
Keep on fabbing.